Welcome to San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs program featuring conversations about life in the central San Joaquin Valley. This program is brought to you in partnership between KFSR 90.7 FM and CMAC Fresno. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Today, the studio's buzzing with activity, and we have guest Hazel Dixon-Cooper. She's an author and astrologist. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, Sevag. I haven't seen you in so long.
I should say welcome back because you've been a guest of San Joaquin Spotlight.
I have.
Before the radio version.
Yes.
But here we are filming in the TV studio.
I know. It's wonderful. I love your studio, too.
By the way, you see
Good
all this
energy.
Activity and stuff? They're all volunteers on this production.
It's wonderful. I think this is an absolutely fabulous idea to do, and I'm very pleased that you invited me back.
Thank you. And one of the reasons I invited you back is because I enjoyed the conversation we had the first time.
I did too.
You're an astrologist?
Astrologer.
Astrologer. What does that do?
Astrologer is someone who studies the movement of the stars and the planets and interprets that as it relates to human behavior and your character and your emotional structure and the trends that may go through your life.
When I was younger, we would see a full moon and we would say, oh, the wolves are coming out. I mean, is this kind of the same thing that we're talking about?
No, not really. It's astrology is an ancient practice. It's been around for 4,000 years. The Babylonians had it, the Egyptians, the Romans, every culture on Earth has some sort of either solar, sun-based astrology, which is our Western astrology, based on sun signs, or a lunar astrology based on the moon. Or a combination, you know, and I use it as a self-help tool when I talk to people and to know more about yourself. It's like a really very primitive psychology. It's kind of the first self-knowledge. You know, if you know about yourself and you know some trends that may be coming in your life or some patterns that may be running through your life that are kind of negative, you might want to change. Astrology is really helpful that way. And then you have the daily horoscopes and the horoscopes in the magazines. You know, I used to be Cosmos Astrologer, and they're fun and they're lighthearted and they're more very general.
You know, when I interviewed you last, you were the astrologer
Yes.
for Cosmopolitan magazine.
Yes.
I don't think our audience understands. This is the Cosmopolitan magazine.
This is the Cosmo.
This is the one.
3 million circulation, 55 countries all over the world. I was their bedside astrologer for 8 years. I wrote that column.
So how did that work out? And I could imagine that turned you into an overnight star right away.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. I actually got that job through my first book, Born on a Rotten Day. When it came out, the publicist at my Simon & Schuster, which was my publisher then, they send them out for reviews or interviews or things, and I didn't get an interview, but the editor liked my writing style and liked the book, and it just as luck and fortune would have it, their astrologer was leaving the magazine, and they invited me to audition, and that was
incredible.
that. Yeah, it happened just that fast.
And you did that for several years.
I did it for 8 years.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Going back to, self-help, you mentioned
Yes.
a self-help tool. So I'm a Leo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you
Born
are.
in August. and my question is this. So when I'm having a bad day, are there things that I could be reading or doing that would make me as a Leo kind of become in a better mood?
Well, yes. For Leos are a fixed sign. So when they're happy about something or angry about something or want to or think they know something, they're very adamant about my way or the highway, as I say in my books. You know, they think they're right, and when they're wrong, they can get, or when they're proven wrong, they can get kind of surly about it. But Leos have this really, I'd say for Leos, activity is good because you're a fire sign. And fire's always moving, even though you're a fixed fire sign. It's like a big roaring fire in a fireplace. It's just right there. And when you get angry, it can be like a forest fire.
Interesting.
But it doesn't last that long. Leo's anger usually flares, and then it goes away, and then they're okay again, So I'd say get exercise or take a walk or, go drive around the block and cool off or something if you need to settle yourself down.
You know, I want to invite you to every party I have because I know that the conversations with you at the party will be interesting.
I do have a lot of fun with people when I meet them, yes.
Do you, I mean, so let's say you're at a party and you're enjoying dinner or barbecuing. Once people realize who you are, do you get the,
I do.
I'm
I'm like the
that.
doctor in the room. You know, they come up, they'll hold my elbow, but they come to me and say, can you guess my sign? And can you tell me something about what's going on and tell me about your books and things like that. And that's fun. I enjoy talking to people. I join people or I wouldn't be doing this, you know, so.
Before we show our first sign and have you talk about the sign, you have a new book. Talk about it.
My new book is called Harness Astrology's Bad Boy, and it's about Pluto. And Pluto is kind of the bad boy of the universe. He's the dark, in mythology, Roman mythology, Pluto was the lord of the underworld. He ruled Hades.
The bad guy.
He was the scary guy, and he always works behind underground and maneuvers behind the scenes. And Pluto rules Scorpio, and it can kind of be a dark force. So harnessing that bad boy or that power, Pluto's also the god of buried treasures, you know, and like diamonds and gold and jewels. And the symbol, the highest symbol of Pluto is the phoenix. So this book is about how to harness that inner power of your inner phoenix to get over the repetition of things like you always date losers, or you can never find a decent job, or you can't ever stay on a diet, or whatever it is. It's that repetitive stuff. And if you harness Pluto's power, you can start becoming mindful of how you're tripping yourself up, and then you unleash your phoenix. And of course it's humorous, because all my books are. But it's coming out in November. It's up for pre-order now. You know, you can pre-order it on Amazon, and they're promoting it with different kind of little promotions. So it's coming out from Beyond Words and Atria, Simon & Schuster in November.
We'll continue talking about the book right after we show this sign and have you talk about it.
Okay.
So what is this?
This is Aries. Aries is the ram, and Aries is a fire sign. Aries
like the Leo.
Like the Leo. There are three fire signs, 3 water, 3 earth, and 3 air. And Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are the fire signs. And Aries is a cardinal fire. And cardinal signs are signs that are action-oriented. They're also the bossy signs. They want their way. They want to do their thing their way. And Leo is first sign in the zodiac, so Leo always wants to be first. I mean, not Leo, excuse me, Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac and wants to be first at everything it does. First in line, first to bash their head on the wall, first to, you know, whatever, I'm going to win. They're very competitive.
That's so interesting. Continuing with your book, why should someone buy it and read it? I mean, how will that book help me, let's say?
Okay, wherever your Pluto is kind of like, it influences you in several ways, but the 2 main ways are where it is in your birth chart when you're born, what house it's in, and a house is a life area. Okay, it could be in your identity, it could be in the section that represents your home or partnerships or relationships or creativity. And wherever Pluto is there's kind of like a little obsessive drive to, like if it's in your 3rd house, let's say, that's a communications. So you'd be the truth teller in the family. And there may be people in the family who don't want you to be so outspoken or to ask why all the time. And so there's a tug of war there. And when we're babies, those issues are played out by our parents or our caregivers, and we're kind of at their mercy. And then where Pluto is transiting in your life today, Pluto's in Capricorn right now, and Pluto's transits are like moving through a sign, that's what a transit is, can take up to like 20 or 30 years because it's the outer planet, and its orbit around the Earth is 240 years long. So it stays in a sign a long time. It's going to be in Capricorn for 2023. So wherever that is in your personal chart right now, you're going to have some upheavals and some things that are deep. And what Pluto does is digs up all the buried skeletons, and it keeps digging them up and throwing them in your face until you either realize, oh, I may not be doing something right here. That's why I've been divorced 16 times or something, or I can't find a decent job, or I can't whatever it
There's something
is.
with me that I need to fix,
It's
basically.
a repetitive something that you need to fix, and this is what this book focuses on. It's a little less broad humor like my other books, but there is a lot of humor in it because Pluto's really not a funny guy. I've had people, write to me and say, I've never seen a book with humor about Pluto, and I said, well, Pluto's like the Godfather. He makes you an offer you shouldn't refuse. Not that you can't, because we always have free will, but you shouldn't do it. And once you work with that energy and you stand up to it, then he turns into your bodyguard, and he helps you, get the strength that you need to change things that you need to change.
Before we go to the next sign, recently we had this thing called the blood moon come up.
Yes.
The moon was red.
Yes.
What is going on there? Does that mean anything in your world?
Well, blood moon is actually what the first moon of spring is called, is the pink moon, because it's for a pink wildflower that is the first blossom of spring. And any full moon is like the endings, some endings, and some, you wrap up things and then you go on until the next full moon, with the new moon is the beginning. But the blood moon is in the title of a book that Reverend Hagee or Hagee, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, of the Cornerstone Church in Texas, has given is in the title of his new book. That's with the next 2 years, we're going to have 4 what he calls blood moons, which are part astrologically of a tetrad, which means this moon there'll be a full moon, and then in 6 months will be another full moon with the same kind of an angle and aspect, with no partial eclipse before. These are total eclipses of the moon. And it's a fairly rare event, but it does not mean that we're all going to die and it's the end of the world. This is the first time I've ever heard that term used that way, and it's to his predictions on the world is going to end, and because they coincide with Jewish holidays. This one came on Passover, but most religions, including our Easter, are based on the lunar calendar, because Easter is the first full moon after the March equinox, and it occurs a week after that happens. It occurs a week after the first full moon after the March equinox, and the Jewish calendar is based on a lunar calendar, or solely lunar is what they call it, because there's some sun and some moon in it, and many other religions and spiritual beliefs are based on a lunar calendar rather than a solar calendar. So I think we'll be around for longer than 2 years.
But there's so much detail in what goes into the horoscope predictions.
Yes.
I mean, just you explaining the blood moon, and there's so much detail there that I don't think people realize. When I open the newspaper and see the horoscope, some people actually think, oh, it's some person trying to make money and writing stuff, but there's actual work in the back of that.
There is. Everything is done on computer software, and when you do a magazine, a horoscope, well, not necessarily for Cosmo, I wrote the horoscopes, but they're still based on where's the moon and what is happening here. They're astrologically correct, but they're to the tone of the magazine. Newspaper horoscopes are the same way. You can get a software program that will spit out. A daily horoscope is a lot of work to do, because you're writing every single day. I did one for Cosmo's website for about 5 or 6 years, and that's a lot of work. That's maybe for a 60 word horoscope daily, that's 12,000 words a month. That's a lot of words to write.
Wow.
And so, but they're very, very general. They're just based on your sun sign. They're just a little snippet of something. And as we were talking before, your personal horoscope chart, your personal chart for you, is multi-layered. Your sun sign is just the beginning. It's just like the tip of a little pyramid, or the beginning of a big spiral. because you have a moon sign. It's where Venus was when you were born, where Pluto, where all the planets were when you were born. And then there's aspects between the planets. If something's opposing something or at a 90-degree angle, which is called a square, it's kind of a tough angle. Those things, every one of those things, even if you're a twin, born 5 minutes apart, you're not going to be absolutely identical.
What's next for you? I mean, you've done writing in incredible publications. You've published several books. One is coming out very, very soon. What's next for you? And the second part of the question, how can we help you to get there? Because you're our very own. I mean, you're from Fresno.
I know.
You're one of ours.
I know. Well, I thank you for that. I have another book proposal out, and I want to continue to write, my astrology books. I have some other ideas for books. I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to keep writing books. I am just beginning to kind of build my clients up again, because when I'm writing, I can't do justice to clients, so I kind of set that aside. So I'm starting to get back online that, if somebody wants a chart, they can email me, and I'll tell them, what I offer in my services. And I'm really, really excited about Pluto. Pluto is something that I'm learning too, that, and it helps, it's very, very helpful to people. So I kind of concentrate on that, when I'm doing someone's chart, or I can concentrate on it for it. But, you're helping me just by putting me on the air here and, being on your show and then on the radio show and YouTube. It's wonderful.
So I promised that I would ask you to talk about another sign.
Sure.
So now let's go ahead and put that sign up. And what is this one?
Scorpio. And I know why that one's up there.
I wonder how
because
Scorpio.
Of the Scorpio we have in the studio tonight. I know.
For the record, one of our volunteers is a Scorpio.
Absolutely.
And somehow Scorpio made its way up there.
I'm sure. Scorpio is a fixed water sign, like your fixed fire. Scorpio is a fixed water sign, and fire signs are action-oriented. They will jump first, and they may or may not think later. They just react. Okay, Scorpios feel everything first. All water signs feel things, and then they make a decision, or they do something, or they may or may not do something. Scorpio is a very deep emotional sign, and it's actually, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. So they have all that churning, volcanic current running through them all the time, even if they're sunny, even if they're happy, and they are fixed in their emotions, fixed in their loyalties. They love who they love, they dislike who they dislike. It's really hard to change their minds, one way or the other. I mean, you can love somebody or like somebody and stand up for them when they may not be people you should be really, standing up for. But I always say that Scorpios are not only the friend that will come to you if you've killed somebody, and you can call them up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, I just murdered this guy. They'll come over and be with you, but they'll also help you bury the body.
Interesting.
And they won't tell anybody.
You know what? We're having fun here in the studio, and we're going to have fun some more. So we're going to let our production crew that's doing the production right now pick our next sign for you to talk about.
Perfect.
So at this
I
time,
love it.
There we go.
Gemini, the twins. Gemini, the twins, are ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the sign of communications. And Geminis love to communicate. They love to talk, and they love people, and they're social. They're multitasking, and a lot of times those kids bite off more than they can chew. So they'll be in love with an idea, a person, a job today. Tomorrow something else comes along, and it's like, oh, who are you? I'm in love with this thing now, or this job, or this person. But they're very much fun, and they kind of they have a dual personality. But Pisces is another dual sign. That's my sign. And Pisces are another dual sign. But where Pisces can kind of pull in two different directions, should I, shouldn't I, the Gemini twins always stand side by side to give you double trouble.
How do you know all this stuff? Because, I mean, it's like, we're pushing a button and we're pressing go, and you're going, and you're accurate in a lot of the stuff.
It's my job, and I've also studied astrology forever, since I was a kid. Many, many years. Many years. I've been fascinated by it since I was a teenager.
So do you have a local fan base? I mean, do you have local fans or are you more national?
I have fans all over the world. I have people that write to me from everywhere. I've just started a Facebook page, and I have people from India and England and Germany. I mean, but most of them are, of course, are in the United States. And then I have local groups too. I always have a good turnout when I have a book signing. The hometown crowd is always wonderful. They always have been to me, very supportive.
Did you realize that you were going to be this successful? I mean, did you
No.
realize that, you know what, I'm reading this stuff and one day I'm going to write a book and the next day I'm going to be on Cosmopolitan?
No idea whatsoever. I was in midlife after working in an office setting as an administrative assistant, just mundane jobs forever. Actually, I was working at St. Agnes when I got my book deal. And I had wanted to be a writer earlier in my life and set aside a dream like so many of us do. Set it aside, came back to it 15 years later thinking, I have to try this or I'm going to end up to be a really nasty old lady regretting that I didn't try. Because if you try and fail, that's one thing. But if you don't try, that's real failure. And when I talk to people, because I know everybody has a secret dream. Everybody in the world has it. And if it's something that keeps nagging you and nagging you and nagging you, you owe it to yourself. You must try it to do it. And that's another thing that Pluto helps you in your life, and other planets too. But so I was going to write a novel, like everybody. Everybody wants to write a novel. So I wrote a novel, and it was like, Wolfman meets a gypsy meets, Fly By Night, something else. It was resting comfortably now in the bottom of the filing cabinet out in the garage. And I was doing kind of a humorous horoscope for a local freebie newspaper that one of the son of one of my friends in my writers group started. I'm in a writers group with Bonnie Hearn Hill, and I know you know Bonnie. I think you had her on your show one time.
She's been on the program as well.
That's right. She's my best friend in the world. And so I was in her writers group starting out, and I started writing this little freebie horoscope. And so we were communicating one day, I don't know what we were doing, probably emailing back and forth at the day job, And I said, what if, and I had written this novel and I didn't really want to do anything with it after that. And I said, what if I did like a funny astrology book? And she said, I think that'd kind of be funny, thing. So then I was cleaning out, this is exactly how this happened. I was cleaning out the bedroom closet in the middle bedroom at my house, and I'm a book hoarder. People hoard stuff. I hoard books. I have boxes of books. I can't get rid of them. And I was going through this box of books thinking, I've got to get rid of some of this junk. And there was a little cartoon book. It was about 50 pages. And it was about, like 8 by 4, long ways. And it was, You Were Born on a Rotten Day. And it made me think, what if I wrote a book called Born on a Rotten Day and just skewed every sign in the universe? So I said, I told her the idea and the group, my writers group, the idea that they were called the Tuesdays. And they thought it was a great idea. So she helped me write a proposal. And I went to my first writers conference, which was in San Diego. And it was this 1999. And I came home with an agent. And 6 weeks later, I had a 6-figure 2-book deal from Simon & Schuster.
Congratulations.
And that's how it started.
Congratulations
and it was
on that.
Absolutely the last thing on my mind that I would be writing astrology books or doing astrology for a living, doing charts and things. I'd always done charts for friends and family, but it was like my kind of something that I really was interested in because I started out more like the history and researching it and trying to figure out how it worked and why it worked. And it led to this. So
congratulations.
here we are,
I mean,
6 books later.
And it sounds like there's several books to come.
Yes, there are many books. There are many. And fiction is still, I always, and everybody laughs at me because I always say, well, I'm going to write a novel. And I really want to do that, someday. And I may write a memoir someday. But writing, certainly. writing certainly.
How can people find out more information about you? You said you had a Facebook page.
I have a website, hazeldixoncooper.com. You can email me. Anyone can email me through the website. I have a contact page there. Friend me on Facebook or go to my fan page on Facebook. It's Hazel, you know. You can just Google my name and it'll come up. All the things will come up how you can get I'm starting a Twitter account, but there's nothing there right now. So.
You're getting into the social media.
I'm getting into social media, you bet.
Is there one sign better? We're running out of time this week on the program, but you know, a lot of times some people think their sign is always better than the others. Is there one best sign?
No.
And how does that, I mean, so all of them have good and all of them have bad.
Everybody, it's just, you know, we're all human and we all have good things and bad things, and each sign has their challenges and their strengths. So no sign, and I would never dare say that anyway, because, you know, just like you have your people, I might have a sign I have more affinity for or something, but I really don't, because I work with it so much. I see the strengths and the challenges for everyone, but no, all the signs are wonderful in their own way.
I'm going to ask
and
you.
And all of them are bad in their own way.
I'm going to ask you just briefly a question. So, when family members come and say, I've met this guy or I've met this girl, do you ask them the question of what's their sign?
What's their sign? My daughter does that. You know, Wendy, my daughter,
yes.
You know, when she meets someone, I say, okay, what's the sign?
And do you analyze if they're compatible?
You know, I never say good or bad. I just say, okay, you know, here's some strengths, here's some stuff. Oh, that's great, you know, things. Because you can't do that unless any sign is compatible with any sign, even the ones that may have like an astrologically tough, like fire and water, okay? They're squared because they think emotionally differently and they assume different things and they react differently. But anybody can get along with anybody, and a lot of times it's good to have somebody with a different strength than yours. You know, you learn that way.
On that note, we are out of time this week on the program. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
That's all for this edition of San Joaquin Spotlight. Thank you to the volunteer crew that made this and every production possible. Thank you to our guest, Hazel Dixon-Cooper. She's an author and astrologer. Also, thank you to those of you watching us on CMAC or listening to us on KFSR 90.7 FM radio. Next week, we'll be back with a new edition.